Absolutely, Charmi. I mean, thanks to you, right? These calls have been very helpful. As I said, you have been very diligent in following up, right? If I, am sort of behind something, you would follow, drop a mail, right? Or ping on WhatsApp. Or I also see that you have people that you manage who are pushing your interns to sort of deliver, right? The reason why I decided to sort of, try out NxtJob. One was that it was 3 months into my job search, and there was um, there was that 3 month gap, and I knew that I needed to sort of, get additional external help because the way I was doing things my way wasn't working, right? So it's easier to, or it's better to recognize that if something ain't working, you better look at some other approaches. So that's and after sort of going through your approach, I felt I needed to give it a shot, right? I mean, obviously, I was not sure whether it'll work or not, because my fundamental um, fear was that this approach that you were going with probably is a great way to go for a mid management career, right? Slightly above mid management, senior mid management, like I was looking for. It was a, I was not convinced, as in like not convinced from that perspective, but I was willing to take the shot, right? Because my risk appetite, my windows were narrow, right? Yeah. So when your window is narrow, you have to take a choice. You have to make a choice with what you. So I think in the market, what I felt was this is perhaps a slightly different approach, maybe a riskier one, right? But let's try it out, right? So that was how I went. It was not like, oh yeah, this is going to work for me. I thought, let's see what the thesis is. If the thesis is something interesting, we should go. So in the which happened to me, I felt okay. It's a different thesis, and no, no harm giving it a shot because, as I said, the way I was working, it was slow, right? So that was one part of the question that you asked, and I think over time, when the way the operationalization started, right, the first thing that really helped was the resume bit. Okay, so my resume, if you compare to what I had put in earlier, vis-a-vis what changed, there is a heaven and hell difference, right? So that part definitely helped in going through some of those gates that I was not probably going through, the ATS gates, right? So that perhaps helped, and then you also see that okay, you have a piece of paper with you. Now you can sort of approach confidently, but your approach of LinkedIn reaching out, yeah, so was definitely helpful because I think I used one of the hooks that was there to contact BirchStreet. So there was the recruiter who was looking for somebody, one of our clients, which was BirchStreet. So I contacted the recruiter using your pitch, right? So it helped, right? So the recruiter and I had a chat, and she said, "Look, your their budget was less. Their budget was 55, right?" So I said, "We'll work on the budget bit, but let's first see whether my resume is something that they're willing to accept, right?" So when they looked at the resume, she came back a week later. She said, "No, in fact, what happened? So I gave her the resume in Feb 20th or something around that time. Okay. She came back to me in March mid, nearly 20 days after. I thought this is like, I had forgotten about it. I did one or two follow ups and she didn't respond, right? I said, okay, it's cold, right? But then she called back. She said, look, hey, BirchStreet is. I said, what happened? Who's woken up, right? Right? So she said, yeah, they were making all the things, the setting all the agenda clear because she was one of those preferred recruiters. She had a early thing that this role is going to open. So जब मेरा लिया था तो maybe they were not 100% sure कि एक approve होगा कि नहीं, the budget, right? So when the budget got approved, she said, "वही 55 है तो मैंने कहा देखो वो बाद में बात करेंगे. We'll have a chat anyways. Yeah, we'll proceed with it." And at the same time, the other startup opportunity also, because that was through my network, it was not through this approach. It was somebody whom I knew, who knew the founder, right, of Ideas to IT. So we connected individually, and there's no resume, nothing, right? It's just discussion and stuff. But anyway, so वो भी parallel में चला, ये भी parallel में चला, and this was एक बार clear हो गया in terms of resume, then it was very quick. As in the hiring manager, I had a chat with her on Thursday, and then Friday the CPO spoke with me. Monday the head of India spoke with me. It was too fast, and then it all of a sudden slowed down. I had to chat to the HR, and then it slowed down. And but the point was that this was an inflection point, right? I mean, the fact that the resume and your pitch work in getting me this opportunity, which finally I'm accepting, right? So which definitely shows that, yeah, I mean, you got to give it 100 shots, maybe one will work, and that's what happened. In the interim, I had two other interviews. One was JFrog, which I knew was not my cup of tea, right? Because they required a different set of skills. But resume went, and I don't know what the recruiter said. He said, no, we'll still want to talk to you and all. I said, fine, go talk. So वो दो round, first round I cleared the VP round, but the chief product officer, when I spoke with her, she's based out of Israel. So when I spoke with her, I figured out that I'm not the right fit, right? I mean, we had a nice chat, but yeah. And then there was another opportunity which is still in the works, but I'm going to deny that because it's going to take a while, right? I mean, अभी दो तीन round हुआ है, तो एक round और होगा, एक case study and all that. I'm not waiting for that, so I'm going to tell them 20th if I join, I'm going to say thanks for that, right? So net, I think I got interesting opportunities. I got a lot of conversations going on LinkedIn. I had a couple of phone calls which were not interview calls, but just general chat, screening chat with people. So yeah, I mean, so that's the difference. I think definitely NxtJob, helped me in that, that approach of reaching out. Of course, I must admit that while your approach of having these interns to do the outreach was okay, when I was a little worried about the language used, because a lot of it I wanted for the senior folks to have a slightly different kind of a language. But yeah, no worries. All that ends well, as well. So it was okay. Okay, so I can order it. I mean, in bits and pieces, everything sort of helped out. So the networking bit was okay, but I think where how do I put it? I mean, what really worked was the outreach part. Really was the good part.
Engagement.
Okay, engagement bit, right? I mean, assuming everything else is fine prior to that, where is the resume and all of that, right? So the engagement bit was good. The help that we got from the interns was also, was much helpful, because obviously, I think humanly it's difficult to scale individually if one is looking for a job, to have so much of an outreach, on a constant factory mode thing. At some point, I just gave it up, saying let the interns do their job, right? I mean, so let them do it, and I was just monitoring it, every 2 days if when I was getting a WhatsApp.
When you gave up, what made you again, to start again, or maybe
No. When I gave up, in the sense, I gave up monitoring each and every message that they were sending.
Okay.
So what I was doing is, end of the day, I was like looking ki kya bheja hai, right? After a while, I said, look, it's not scalable for me to do that. Let the interns do it. Like, let it be in the factory mode. मैं नहीं कर सकता. जवाब आएगा तो I'll handle it, right? So that's what I did. So that's why I was like sort of off after the first week of that networking blitz. I sort of took a step back, saying, okay, I'll respond when there is a response. And the previous person who was there, he was super aggressive and sort of pushing a lot of things. He did a good job, but I was only worried about the the quality of stuff the people he was connecting to. So he was then consolidating ki, oh, these 7 people responded, please respond. So I said, okay, the factory is doing the job, so let me now respond, right? So I think that was the if you ask me, the factor that was good, right, from a value perspective, because honestly speaking, somebody who's in a job, even people like me who were, not in a job, would find that difficult to do. Okay, so I think that's a USP you have. Your problem would be to scale it up when you have more customers like me, right? Because then you're then dependent on more interns. But I'm sure all of you as a team will figure out a clever way to work around that. So that was one. The second thing was resume customization. So in order of your USPs, the networking bit. The second was the customization of resumes. Right. It's a very simple concept, but very easy. You solve that very easily in a easy interface. Right. There are tons of other companies trying to do the same thing, but the way you have integrated it is pretty easy to for anyone to follow and pretty helpful, right? So I could customize. I think I would have customized 70% of my um, resumes, whoever was there, so that I was sending to, and so that was good. And lastly, of course, follow-ups, right? So you were diligent in following up, and so was the other team. So the comfort that there is an account manager there, who's sort of looking at a bunch of customers, but looking at them diligently was also, I would say, how you to put it subtly, it was something I could then rely on, right? I'll say if I have a problem, although I didn't have a single problem, I didn't escalate anything to you, right? But I think that was a good thing. Otherwise, you're sort of in a most of the organizations or most of these services that you have in the job prep and these kind of services, you end up having a black hole on the other side, right? And I've read many of these stories on Twitter. So while the or Reddit, right? While the platform is great, the solution is great. You need a human interface, right? Again, you're doing the tough job, right? So that's another good thing. And of course, finally the resume optimization bit worked. So I would say that
Thursday calls.
I had joined initially, right? So while the what do you call that, the resume clearing thing, then I had joined one or two interview calls, and I had seen Richik's this one video, recorded video stuff, right? So that one. What I did not join was the interview calls. So it's not that I was super confident, but I sort of felt that I did go through some of the logs, right? But I thought that okay, I mean, if I really need help, I will go and ask for help, right? So it was something that I mean, that was the only thing I probably did not do. I had gone through most of your
Experience with GPTs.
GPTs were you very useful.
GPTs. Did you create any Venn document?
I created 3 or 4. I shared with you quite a few.
Yes. So how was that experience?
So that was good because look, what it did was I did modify them dramatically from the usual document that you have, the format that you have. I modified it quite a lot, but I think it gave, even for BirchStreet, I had made one. I don't know if you know, right? So I made for BirchStreet as well. Uh, I think what it does is it provides you that one additional, I would say, um, angle to sort of make yourself different from the other candidates, right? So definitely that was a good approach. What I used to do typically is that I used to use your GPT for creating the win, but that's a skeleton, but then modify it to, because I used to do a little bit of research about the company, their intricacies, and the role that I was looking for, is to do a match of that and change it. But nevertheless, the concept was something I used. Yeah, I think yes. What they definitely did was that you gave me an additional arsenal, to keep in my kitty, right? To be used when I want it, right? This is something that I probably would have underused uh, in my current state of things, right? So right now, I think what I have learned is there is a good balance that you can strike by using LinkedIn and the networking aspect. without overusing or abusing it, because people could abuse LinkedIn networking left, right, and center. But I think what I learned was the right balance that you could do. I was underusing it, right? So I think that's one thing I can take out, from this experience. Absolutely, Charmi. I mean, thanks to you, right? These calls have been very helpful. As I said, you have been very diligent in following up, right? If I, am sort of behind something, you would follow, drop a mail, right, or ping on WhatsApp. Or I also see that you have people that you manage who are pushing your interns to sort of deliver, right. So I think it wouldn't have happened this smoothly without this support that you have given, and even the calls that we've had. These have been more or less, I would say, um, to reinforce, just to have faith in our system of operations, right? So, which so thank you for that. So definitely helpful, right? And I think you're doing a fantastic job there, and I'm sure a lot of others are also getting the help that they require.